and gentlemen, to the She Knows Pro Football podcast. Once again, I'm Alice, aka the NFL Girl, and once again, I got my good friend Dominick here with me. Dominick, how you doing today?
I'm not doing too bad. It should be another good week of games here. We had some big decisions last week with the Dolphins crushing the Texans. We had Chiefs beating up on the Rams, but hopefully we'll have some better games this week.
I definitely hope we have some better games this week, because some of the games last week, while we did have some surprising endings, we did have some very, very terrible endings. Broncos, you suck. That's all I can say at this point. Well, you guys, here we are. We are at week 13, meaning we are getting to the point where we are wrapping up this season. I am so ready now at this point for it to be over, because my Broncos are trash and I'm ready to move on with my life. But this week's slate of games, we got some good ones lined up. There's some teams still in the hunt for the playoffs, so let's see how they can fare this week. Let's start with our Thursday night matchup. We got the 8-3 Buffalo Bills headed to New England to face the 6-5 Patriots. Dominick, who you got?
Yeah, sadly for you, Alice, I don't think you're going to be able to move on with your life, because Russell Wilson's going to be there guaranteed for about 4 more years, and I think he's kind of lost it. But going to this Thursday game, both these teams played on Thanksgiving, so they both have a full week's rest, which is good for them. So then they're going to have 10 days off after this before their next games. I do think the Bills are the better team here. Obviously, Josh Allen seems to be fully healthy now. He still has Stephon Diggs there. The running game with Devin Singletary starting to do better as well. Trey White finally came back last game. He should be more healthy this game as well. I do like what the Bills are doing. It's their third basically road game in a row, but I do think it's going to be all right, and I do think that they're going to be able to win this game, because I think they're better than the Patriots.
Patriots, they look like they're still trying to find themselves, and I feel like they are going to get there at some point. They just aren't fully there just yet. Meanwhile, the Bills, man, this team, to me, obviously, they're the team to beat in the AFC, and I know that's saying something considering that we still got Chiefs in that division, but this team is so solid on both sides of the ball. Love Josh Allen. Love that Gabe Davis seemed to have fallen off a little bit, and then he started to regain his footing in the last 2 games, which I'm happy to see, because that's made a difference for them. And Stephon Diggs, you can always count on this kid. Defense, having Trey White back is going to make a tremendous difference going forward for this team. I'm so excited for this team. I can't wait for them to get into the playoffs. I definitely see them getting this win here against the Patriots. Moving on to Sunday, we got the 4-7 Pittsburgh Steelers headed to Atlanta to face the 5-7 Falcons. Dominick, who you got?
Neither of these teams are very good. They didn't really look good last week. Atlanta could have won the game against the Washington team, but they ended up going down at the end of the game. They had it on the 2-yard line. Mariota threw an interception. I don't think it's going to happen in this game. I do think that TJ Watt being back is a huge deal for Pittsburgh. They beat the Colts on Monday night. The Colts played terrible. Jeff Saturday did some terrible coaching at the end of the game that cost him the game, unfortunately. I do think that Kenny Pickett started playing good in this game. AJ Terrell for the Falcons is the only good player they really have on defense, so he's going to be able to do something against the Pittsburgh pass game. We don't know if Najee Harris is going to be back or not, so don't know if they're going to have a real good run game. So I don't think they're going to have quite enough to win this game, although I do like the defense. I think the offense of Atlanta with Cordero Patterson is going to be able to do just enough here, and I do think they're going to win this game at home.
This is going to be a closer matchup than what it should be. I love the Kenny Pickett to Pickens matchup. They're starting to really develop. They're really starting to progress, and I see maybe by next season, they'll be more competitive in their division. Right now, they still got, going through bumps and bruises, and Najee Harris falling off for a few weeks didn't help. And he was playing well this past week, but now we're not 100% sure if he's going to be healthy to play this week, so we'll see where that falls. Falcons, meanwhile, Cordell Patterson is just a beast all by himself, and it helps that Marcus Mariota has played pretty decent this season. They're only 5-7, but they're still in the running of that NFC South, because the NFC South isn't that great. This is going to be a tough game. I think it'll be a low-scoring game, because neither one of them have very powerful offenses, and their defenses are subpar. But at the end of the day, Falcons are at home. I love Cordell Patterson, so I'm going to give this one to the Falcons. Next up, we got the 4-8 Green Bay Packers headed to Chicago to face the 3-9 Bears. Dominick, who you got?
Yeah, when Jordan Love came in on Monday night, when Rodgers got hurt, he looked halfway decent. He had a touchdown there at the end of the game. He looked at least solid enough. I think against this Bears team without Eddie Jackson, who's their best defensive player, he's going to be out for the rest of the year. It's going to be very easy for Green Bay to move the ball. Green Bay's defense has not been as good as everybody had wanted it to be this year, but we don't know if Justin Fields is going to be back either. He's going to be without Mooney. Even if he is back, he's out for the rest of the year as well. So this is going to be a run-heavy game for both teams. Neither team can stop the run, so both teams are going to want to run the ball quite a bit. Aaron Rodgers owns the Chicago Bears. He's in his career, he's 25-10 against the Bears with 63 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. He just loves playing against this team. He hates the team as well. So he's going to do everything he can to be in there. And I think he's going to be able to do quite a bit here. So I know it's probably an easy choice here, but I think the Bears should just lose every game, try and get the best draft pick they can because they're not going anywhere this year and now they have all these injuries. I don't think they're going to do that, but I do think they're going to lose this game anyway.
The Packers, when Jordan Love came in, looked like they finally had something going. There is something terribly wrong with Aaron Rodgers. It's a thumb issue. Now it's a ribs issue. It's just he's not up to the same quality that he has been the 2 previous seasons. And I don't put it all on injuries. I just think that it's not there anymore. And I don't put it all on his receivers like he does. They have a very solid running game in A.J. Dillon and in Aaron Jones. And that's kind of what has been saving them. Their defense is mediocre at best. The Bears, meanwhile, I hope Justin Fields can get back in time for this game. But again, like Dominic said here, they're not going to have their WR1 in Darnell Mooney, who's out for the rest of the season. And that's going to be significant, meaning they're going to have to rely a little more heavily on David Montgomery. Can he get it done? In particular, if Fields is not starting. Aaron Rodgers is going to get it done just because the Bears are struggling so tremendously, especially on that defense. They are just pure garbage. So got to give this game to the Packers. Next up, we got the 4-7 Jacksonville Jaguars headed to Detroit to face the 4-7 Lions. Dominic, who you got?
I don't know if this is going to be a good game, but it's going to be a fun game. Both these teams are exciting to watch. They both have some young stars there with Amon-Ra St. Brown for the Detroit Lions, Travis Etienne for the Jaguars. He looks like he is going to be back for this game. He was cleared to go in last week. They just kept him out, though, but it looks like he is cleared to go in this game. Trevor Lawrence is playing really good the past couple of weeks. He had a nice comeback victory against the Baltimore Ravens last week to bring them to get that win. I do think, like I said, this is going to be a very fun game to watch. I think it's going to be a very high-scoring game, and I think it's going to be very close. But just because Detroit's at home, I'm going to pick them to win.
Listen, this is my 2 favorite try-hard teams that I talked about them all season long. These are the 2 try-hard teams of all the try-hard teams out there. Absolutely putting it out there every single week. It hasn't always equaled W's in the win column, but that's okay because you can see them giving it their best effort. Now, it did turn out to be a phenomenal win for the Jaguars last week going against the Ravens. A shocking win that no one predicted. I'm sorry, you guys. I didn't predict that one because I didn't know they could put together a drive like that. Kudos to Doug Peterson for taking a chance and believing in his team and knowing that his quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, could get it done. This team is a totally different team than the one that had to work under Urban Meyer. And I love the development that he is getting out of Trevor Lawrence. Again, not always equaling in the win column, but it's good to see the maturation that I'm seeing out of him and the connection that he's having with his receivers, Zay Jones and Marvin Jones as well. So love it. Good to see it. Travis Etienne being healthy and coming back this week should absolutely help them. Lions, meanwhile, again, another one of my favorite try-hard teams out here. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown, like what the connection that I see Jared Goff having with him. And DeAndre Swift has looked great out there. So this will probably be the most fun game of all the games in week 13. Will it be very high scoring? We'll see. They both have the potential to do that. That's why I said that it'll be a good game to watch. At the end of the day, I'm going to do a coin flip on this one because I love both of these teams. I'm going to give this one to the Jaguars. That's where I'm leaning for this week. Next up, we got the 7-4 New York Jets headed to Minnesota to face the 9-2 Vikings. Dominic, who you got?
Yeah, this is going to be another good game. I think if it was Zach Wilson, I would definitely give this game to the Vikings. But with Mike White there, the players seem to love him. Eli Moore actually did something last week, which is good. Garrett Wilson got into the mix as well. They did play without James Robinson last week, so it's going to be tough if he's not able to come back this week. They may not be able to get a run game going, but they did have Cannon there last week, which really did good things for them. So he did good. I do like the Vikings here as well, though. Obviously, they have Justin Jefferson. They have Adam Thielen. Both got a touchdown last week. They have Dalvin Cook, who's always a threat to get a touchdown or 100 yards. This one is in Minnesota. I do really like what Minnesota is doing there. And if Minnesota wins this week, they clinch a playoff spot. So I'm going to give this one to Minnesota.
Listen, very impressed with what the Jets did last week. I didn't think that having Mike White as a starter would make that much of a difference because I didn't realize it was all Zach Wilson. And that was what became painfully obvious as soon as Mike White got out there on that field. You saw his receivers suddenly step up. You heard them in the post game talk about how they all felt like they were playing on another level, and that included on the defense as well. So this team feels more cohesive having Mike White as their starter. That may make all the difference for whether or not they can make a push into the playoffs. Going against these Vikings, though, the Vikings are just on fire right now. Yes, they've caught a couple of losses. The one in particular against the Cowboys was nasty, but they're playing at home this week. Defense is looking good. Love what I've seen out of Patrick Peterson this season. Kirk Cousins has probably the two best receivers in the league, and Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, and one of the best running backs in the league, and Dalvin Cook. Right now, playing at home, even as well as the Jets played last week, I don't think they'll be able to overcome the firepower that I know that the Vikings have, in particular playing at home. So got to give this to Minnesota. Next up, we got the 7-5 Washington Commanders headed to New York to face the 7-4 Giants. Dominick, who you got?
Yeah, Washington is actually coming on strong right now. They beat Philadelphia, then they beat Houston. They're just playing hot right now. They obviously beat Atlanta last week as well. Now they go up to the Giants, who have been looking pretty bad the past couple of weeks, including that ugly loss to Dallas on Thanksgiving Day. Washington will play this game. They'll have a bye week next week, and then they'll play New York again the following week. So they play the Giants 2 weeks in a row on their schedule. So this is going to be the first. It's going to be an important spread for Washington because they have not played they played Philadelphia, but they haven't played the Giants or Dallas yet. So they're going to have a lot of divisional games coming down the stretch to see if they can get in the playoffs. I do think they have the inside edge against the Giants because, like I said, I know Saquon Barkley's doing good, but Washington is playing very good right now. They're finally learning how to run the ball, which they should have been doing all year, but now they're actually able to do it. And it's working out really good for them. So I do think Washington's going to be able to go into New York. I do think it's going to be a big Saquon Barkley game. It's going to be a big running back game between Brian Robinson, big hat Brian Robinson, I guess, and Antonio Gibson. But I do think Washington's going to be able to win this one.
Washington is another team that having Taylor Heinicke as the starter has made such a difference for this team. And it's even helped with their run game more than anything. Seeing what Brian Robinson could do, seeing what Antonio Gibson does there with Heinicke starting, tremendous. Love it. Love seeing it every week. Giants, meanwhile, they're starting to fall off. Danny Dimes is now starting to go back to Danny Nichols, and I'm kind of disappointed in that. But again, he doesn't really have a solid WR1 that's kind of leaning more heavily on Saquon. And Saquon has been able to carry this team for most of the season, but we saw that start to crumble as of last week. Can the Giants turn it around here going against the Commanders? That's a good question. I feel like that they can, just simply because they're at home. I know they're going to give it all they got. This is a division rival that they do not like at all. So at the end of the day, I think the Giants can pull off a win. It's going to be a close one now, definitely, but got to give it here to the Giants. Next up, we got the 7-4 Tennessee Titans headed to Philly to face the 10-1 Eagles. Dominick, who you got?
This should be another really good game. I mean, both these teams are first in their division. If the Eagles win this week, just like the Vikings, they get a playoff berth clinched as well. So they really want to win this game. They want to run the ball. We saw what they were able to do, getting over 300 yards rushing against the Packers on Monday night. Tennessee wants to run the ball well. Obviously, they have Derrick Henry. He wasn't able to do as much against the Bengals last week. He only had 35 yards rushing on 17 carries, which is not obviously great for him at all. So this is going to be what both teams want to do, but Tennessee is also one of the best teams in the league against the run. So it's going to be very tough for the Eagles, but I do think they're going to be able to run the ball. Plus, I think Jalen Hurts over Ryan Tannehill is going to be the big difference. We know that Tennessee used to have A.J. Brown. Obviously, now the Eagles have him. That receiver is going to make a big difference here because the Tennessee really has no receivers. They have Robert Woods, but he's not up to the level of A.J. Brown. So this game, again, is at home, so I'm going to have to take the Eagles to win this game.
The A.J. Brown revenge game. Listen, you guys, if y'all have been around on Titans had a night game and A.J. Brown was obviously off. The Eagles had played earlier, played like a Thursday game, I want to say, and they were off. And A.J. Brown was trolling the hell out of the Titans. And it was so hilarious for me. It's terrible, but at the same time, it was hilarious. He obviously doesn't have empathy for what that team is going through, not having a solid WR1, because, hey, he was their WR1. So can't blame it on him. I really feel like he has something he's going to want to show off this week going against that team. The Titans are number one in their division. It's because it's not that good of a division. Let's just be serious for a minute here. Derrick Henry, meanwhile, always can count on him. It's just the passing game that always has issues because, again, like we keep saying, no WR1. Meanwhile, the Eagles playing at home. You got Devonta Smith. You got A.J. Brown on a revenge tour. Jalen Hurts is just on fire right now. Definitely giving this game to the Eagles here. But it'll be fun to watch. Definitely should watch this game and see what A.J. Brown comes up with. Next up, we got the 3-8 Denver Broncos headed to Baltimore to face the 7-4 Ravens. Dominick, who you got?
Yeah, we'll keep this one short just so we don't have to make you cry or anything. I'm gonna take the Ravens here. They're coming off an ugly loss to Jacksonville, but I don't think they're gonna get an ugly loss against a team who just lost to the Panthers.
Broncos are just trash this season. I've already checked out. I can't do it. And they've got nothing at this point that would make me believe that there's a way for them to overcome what I know the Ravens could do. And Ravens are coming off a nasty last-second loss. They're going to want revenge. They're at home giving this to the Ravens. Next up, we got the 4-7 Cleveland Browns headed to Houston to face the 9-1 Texans. Dominick, who you got?
I refuse to pick this game just because I don't like either team. So this is going to be the game that I picked this year that's going to end in a tie.
Listen, for reasons I don't have to get into, I can't pick the Browns in this game. And the Texans are just garbage. So I could care less, honestly. But I'm going to pick the Texans just to put a name out there. Next up, we got the 6-5 Seattle Seahawks headed to Los Angeles to face the 3-8 Rams. Dominick, who you got?
Yeah, we just heard earlier today that the Rams are going to be playing here without Aaron Donald. Matthew Stafford still has not come out of the concussion protocol. We've seen that Jalen Ramsey really hasn't been doing much of anything this year either. Cooper Kupp's going to be out. Allen Robinson's out for the rest of the year after injuring his ankle. So the Rams really have nothing left. Seattle took a tough loss last week in overtime on an 86-yard run to Josh Jacobs, who had 240 yards rushing in the game. There's not going to be anybody on the Los Angeles team that can rush for 240 yards or throw the ball for 240 yards for that matter. So I just think Seattle, even though their defense is garbage, the Rams defense is not much better this year anyway. So I'm going to take the Seattle because they have more weapons on offense.
Listen, the Rams are so banged up. I don't even know who the hell is going to be out there playing for them at this point. They're WR1, they're WR2, they're WR3. Like, everybody's hurt. We're not going to have Aaron Donald. Jalen Ramsey's been playing off. I don't know what's going on with him. We don't know for sure Stafford's even going to be healthy for this game. Seahawks, yes, they're coming off a tough loss, but they still lead this division somehow. And so at the end of the day, who can I pick? Got to pick the Seahawks here. I don't think it's going to be that interesting of a game. I just don't feel like Rams have a team they can field that could get over what I know that Geno can do with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Next up, we got the 8-3 Miami Dolphins headed to San Francisco to face the 7-4 49ers. Dominick, who you got?
Yeah, so this should be another fun game. We know that the 49ers and the Dolphins have kind of the same theory that they want to do, considering that Mike Macdonald worked for Kyle Shanahan last year as his OC. He basically has all his running backs as well at this point with Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson. So we know they want to run the ball. We also know that they have Tyreek Hill, who, is comparative to Deebo Samuel, probably better than Deebo Samuel, obviously. And then they have Jalen Waddle, who's going to be better than Brandon Ayuk. So basically it comes down to the quarterback. I think Tua right now, they're both playing solid, but I think Tua is playing a little bit better than Jimmy Garoppolo is at this point. The defense for San Francisco is better, but I don't think they're going to be able to hold down Miami. So it's going to be a very close game, a very physical game with both teams wanting to run the ball. But Eli Mitchell is going to be out for this game. He's going to be out for the rest of the year for San Francisco. So I think that's going to make the difference here. And I think that the Dolphins are going to be able to go to San Francisco and win.
This is going to be such a fun game. Such a fun game because these are two really good competitive teams and they have two really, really fun offenses. The addition of CMC for the 49ers has made a great difference for them simply because it allows them to have more gadget plays. Even if he doesn't come in and is involved in a play, you have to account for him. And so this has allowed other players like Deebo Samuel, like Brandon Ayuk, to step up every single week. And that is what has been fun. It's just the idea of him being out there allows you to get other players open. Love it. Love seeing it every week. Meanwhile, the Dolphins, listen, fun young team. Tua is for real. They will not let you pick against this or speak badly about Tua. But I love what I'm seeing out of Tua anyway, because I love this matchup he has with Tyreek, and I love this matchup that he has with Jalen Waddle. Expect a fun, exciting, maybe some shenanigans going on in this game. Playing at home, though, I'm going to give this one to the 49ers. I just feel like they're going to find a way. Maybe some little trickery is going to come up in here. Maybe we might see a touchdown from CMC as far as like in a halfback pass or something to that effect. So I'm going to take the 49ers here. Next up, we got the 9-2 Kansas City Chiefs headed to Cincinnati to face the 7-4 Bengals. Dominick, who you got?
Yeah, the Chiefs have been rolling lately. They've just been crushing teams since they had that close loss or that close victory against the Raiders. They've just been out on a mission here. I do kind of think it ends here, though. Jamar Chase is going to be back this week. They went into Cincinnati last year and lost a game, and I think they're actually going to do it again here. Hopefully, Joe Mixon is back for this game. If he's not, I think they're not going to be able to win. But as long as Joe Mixon's back for this game, and like I said, I do think he will be, I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals to actually beat the Chiefs in this game.
You guys, Chiefs are so much fun to watch, mainly because this matchup right now that Patrick Mahomes has going with Travis Kelce more than any other player. And mind you, he has some other great receivers there. And I'm starting to notice Sky Moore picking it up a little bit more. It has been tremendous. And it always blows my mind considering we know he's going to go with Travis Kelce, that Travis Kelce keeps getting open every week and just having ridiculous amount of touchdowns every single game. But it's fun to watch regardless. Meanwhile, the Bengals, listen, having Jamar Chase back is going to make a difference. But if Joe Mixon isn't there, that's going to be a problem because that run game is what opens up that passing game and makes Jamar Chase an even bigger threat. Now, a healthy Tyler Boyd and a healthy T. Higgins will always help this team out. And I expect this to be a good game. They're playing there at home. But I really feel like the Chiefs are on a roll. Again, they're trying to stay. They want to get the number 1 seed in the playoffs. Only way to do it is to get these big wins right here against these other division rivals. I'm going to give this one to the Chiefs. Next up, we got the 6-5 Los Angeles Chargers headed to Las Vegas to face the 4-7 Raiders. Dominick, who you got?
Yeah, the Chargers came back after being all aggressive last year with Coach Staley. They decided to come back this year and do everything completely the opposite and being completely conservative until last week when they were down by 1 with the 2-point conversion. They ended up going for it and getting the win against the Arizona Cardinals. I guess they realized the Arizona Cardinals stink in November, December. They wanted to get that victory over them, and it happened. Austin Eckler had not a very good game overall, but he did get that winning touchdown, which is good. He's still a solid player here. Obviously, Justin Herbert played very good last week. Hopefully, they have Mike Williams back this week. He missed last week, but they did have Keenan Allen back. Hopefully, they can have all 4 of their stars back on this field this time. I know Devontae Adams is there in Las Vegas, but they really don't have a whole lot much more to deal with right now. They had a great win last week. This is going to be maybe a come down week for them. Josh Jacobs had, like I said, 240 yards rushing last week. He's not going to have this one against the Chargers, even though the Chargers are terrible against the run. I don't think he can't get another 240 yards this week. So because of that, I just think they're going to have a little bit of a letdown this week after a huge victory last week. So I'm going to take the Chargers to win this one.
The Raiders in back-to-back weeks have had walk-off touchdowns to win it, and it's been amazing to watch. I love that, they were able to get Devontae Adams to do it one week and turn around and got Josh Jacobs to do it the next week. Those are their two biggest weapons, and I love both of these guys. This game, because it's a division rival, I expect this game to be closer. However, the Chargers, I feel, have more weapons on this offense. In particular, if they get Mike Williams back healthy this week. I like Austin Eckler just slightly more than Josh Jacobs, even though Josh Jacobs the last 2 weeks has been more impressive out there on the field. I don't think that's going to be the case this week. I think Austin Eckler can get it done more. And I love Keenan Allen just a little bit more. Maybe not more than I like him more than Matt Collins. I won't say that I like him more than Devontae Adams, because Devontae Adams is just an animal all by himself. This is going to be a very close, very competitive game, because again, these are division rivals. At the end of the day, even though I know Raiders can get some voodoo going at the end of games, I feel like Chargers will put it away early, so that's not a worry. So taking the Chargers here in this game. Next up, we got the 4-7-1 Indianapolis Colts headed to Dallas to face the 8-3 Cowboys. Dominick, who you got?
Yeah, I would love to say the Colts are going to win this game, but they did no favors to themselves or to anybody's perspective of them on Monday night. They played a terrible game. They had some terrible clock management at the end of the game. Jonathan Taylor looked really good. Obviously, he's going to look good. Dallas Cowboys, they have a great defense, but their one part of their defense that's not good is their run defense. So he should have a game here, but they're not going to allow much in the pass game. And I think they're going to be able to get to Matt Ryan quite a bit, especially Micah Parsons. So I do think that Dallas is unfortunately going to be able to win this game.
Dallas's defense against Indianapolis Colts offense, in particular against Matt Ryan, is just going to be so ridiculous, as Micah Parsons is going to be easily able to get to Matt Ryan. And that's sad to see. The offense of the Cowboys, like what I'm seeing out of Tony Pollard this year, he may actually be their true RB1, just in particular for this season. I hate picking the Cowboys, but it's not going to be close, you guys. In particular, some of the calls that Jeff Saturday and decisions he made at the end of the game were so ridiculous. And if trying to scheme against what the Cowboys can do, especially that defense, they have no shot whatsoever giving this game to the Cowboys. And last up, we got our Monday night matchup. We got the 4-8 New Orleans Saints headed to Tampa to face the 5-6 Buccaneers. Dominick, who you got?
Yeah, the Saints looked like trash last week. They got shut out for the first time since 2001. But Tampa Bay didn't look much better in losing to Cleveland in overtime. It was the first time Tom Brady has lost a game that he's led by more than 7 points with 2 minutes left in the game. He's 218-1 now. I just think that he's only won one game ever against the Saints in the regular season. That was their first game this year. I think both teams are struggling right now, but I think that the Saints really want to come back and do something in this game. So I'm going to take the Saints to beat the Buccaneers in this one.
These teams are so bad, but that whole NFC South division is terrible. So it's not saying much saying that these two teams in particular bad. Saints looked like garbage last week. Couldn't get a damn point on the board. So ridiculous for them. The Buccaneers, meanwhile, didn't fare much better. Tom Brady, good Lord, old man, what are you doing out there? It might be time for him and Aaron Rodgers to go ahead and wrap this up. I like the weapons that the Buccaneers have just a little bit more. I love his receivers. I feel like they're just slightly healthier, but not by much. But I also think the Saints have to get over what happened to them last week. They're not happy that they walked away with no points whatsoever. So I expect them to put up a lot of points. I expect that both these teams to try and really get on the board. At the end of the day, I think the Buccaneers are going to be the one that gets the win. Well, you guys, that's all of our matchups. Dominick, give me one start and one sit in fantasy.
Yeah, for a start, I know, like I said, we talked earlier about Green Bay and Chicago, how both of these teams are terrible on defense, especially against the run. Obviously, everybody's going to start Aaron Jones. Everybody's going to start David Montgomery, but I'm going to tell you to also start A.J. Dillon. I just think that this is going to be a very run-heavy game, and I think that both of these running backs for Green Bay are going to get in the end zone. So I expect A.J. Dillon to have a very good game here, especially if he's in your flex position. As somebody to sit, I just really like this Dolphins-San Francisco game. I think both teams are going to, like I said, they're going to want to run the ball as well. They're not going to be passing the ball as much. I'm not going to tell you to sit Tyreek Hill or Deebo Samuel, but I'm going to tell you to sit Brandon Ayuk if you're trying to play him for somebody who you have out. I just don't think that the pass game is going to do much of anything in this game. And I think whatever they do in the pass game is going to be either Tyreek Hill or Deebo Samuel. So if I had Brandon Ayuk, I would sit him this week.
Well, you guys, that's all the time that we have this week. Want to thank everybody again for listening. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at the NFL Girl 320. Dominic, where can they follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter at EnvisionFF.
You can read more of my thoughts on SheKnowsProFootball.com. Dominic, where can they read your work?
You can read my work at PhiladelphiaEagles.com, The Athletic, and at SportsBookWire.com.
That's all the time we have, you guys. See you back here next week.